Why would someone exaggerate? You like that, folks? It's a brand new word. I made it up just for you. Why would some exaggerate the attributes of enlightenment? Let's remind ourselves of Sturgeon's law that 90% of everything is crap. And that includes meditation teachers. Think if, what's it called? What's his name? Dennis Miller. The comic I really enjoyed in the 80s until he turned to the dark side and became a conservative because it was more profitable, or so he thought. Anyway, that's what he became, what the French call a collaborator. But anyway, good old Dennis Miller, before he turned to the dark side, said something that was really funny. He said the worst thing about smoking pot is hanging out with other people who smoke pot, because they will start obsessing about ridiculous things, and eventually the conversation will turn to the mythical attributes of Bruce Lee, each person trying to one up the other person with exaggerated claims. Humans do that all the time, and we don't need wacky tobacco in order to do that. We exaggerate simply because, number one, we're creative. Number two, we hate a gap in the knowledge. But number three, we love petty one-upsmanship. All of us are wired for it, believe it or not. Most of us can feel that impulse and hold back on it, but not everyone. Consider, if you will, the yin and yang of Buddha and his cousin. As a student of many ancient texts, many Buddhists say, man, I wish there was a Buddhist version of yin and yang. And the answer is, there is. In the earliest dissemination of the teachings, the foil to Gautama the Buddha was his cousin Devadatta. Or if you are American, you may remember, there were two comic book heroes, Goofus and Gallant. Do you remember that? I think it was from Highlights magazine in your doctor's waiting room. So the Buddha was like Gallant and his cousin was like Goofus. Or to put a finer point on it, Devadatta was all about being rigid, fearful, controlling. Oopsie, I keep forgetting to do this trick. Rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Now that's worth the price of admission, isn't it? What? You didn't pay anything to come? Well, then you got your money's worth, didn't you? So, these are the attributes of being what is known in Sanskrit as a son of a bitch. And folks that are rigid and fearful and controlling and elitist just can't wait to exaggerate the claims of enlightenment. Why would they do that? Because by virtue of their position, by virtue of their bad haircut, by virtue of their goofy garments, people are going to assume they've already accomplished enlightenment. And then when they try to accomplish enlightenment according to exaggerated and inaccurate standards and can't do it, they feel defeated. And while they're loathing themselves, they are in awe of people who seem to have accomplished it. People who love power do not let go of it. There is a special demographic in the human population that are just like moths to a porch light, are drawn to positions of power, prestige, and authority. That happens in the religious world, the secular world, the vocational world, the recreational world. Wherever there are humans, there are going to be some self-important pricks. So let's debunk the lies of the fools, shall we? Let us explore what enlightenment is not. Enlightenment is not an absence of physical pain. Enlightenment is not an absence of emotional pain. The first of the 7 enlightenment factors is mindfulness. If we are ignoring physical pain or emotional pain, we're not practicing mindfulness. How does someone become a Buddha? By practicing the steps to become a Buddha. How does someone stay a Buddha in an impermanent universe? by continuing to practice the steps to become a Buddha. And one of those steps, the first step, is mindfulness. Not once did the Buddhists say, well, there's no more physical discomfort, there's no more emotional discomfort, life is a bowl of cherries. So James has a very interesting thing. So James says, I choose yin because it's shown to be white and therefore light for the dark ego. Oh, for the dark, ergo enlightenment. So very, very cool. And I'm going to say something that's a little contrary to what you said, not because I don't respect you, not because I don't dig you, but just because folks in authority have confused you. And that's their fault, not yours. Communication is not the message intended, it's the message understood. And if people can't communicate well, they need to do their job better. So in Taoist metaphysics, light, we consider, if you will, the yin-yang. In fact, quick like a bunny, I'm going to tap button 8 on my magical computer machine. And I'm going to look up yin-yang so I can be somewhat cool. Let's hit, there we go. Let's hit images. Let's get a good one. This one will do. Okay. Let's, can I make that super big? I can't. We'll just deal with this bad boy right here. No, we'll deal with this one here. Okay, so in a correct yin-yang drawing, yang is ascending and it's white. Yin is descending and it's black. Like a flame and rainfall. So ironically, when we really immerse ourselves in the literature of the Tao Te Ching, yin is described as dark and feminine and mysterious and yielding, and yang is described as light and aggressive and advancing. So I respect your intention. I just don't want you to trip up, because I'd rather correct you gently and respectfully than have some troll just lace into you sadistically. Because you know these people they're people with great big computers and very tiny penises, and they just can't wait to attack real or fabricated flaws. I'm trying to prevent people from kicking you in the shins, shaking you by the pearls, and taking your lunch money. So the yin is dark and it's descending. It's funny because in the West, dark is yang, but in the East, dark is yin. Go figure. Think of it this way. A reoccurring theme when it comes to metaphors in Taoism is the penis and the vagina. So the penis, during the 9 times out of 10, when people are getting ready to make love, or if you're a fan of Queen, get down, make love, when they're both naked, the penis is right out there in front of God and everybody. But the vagina is very, very mysterious, and it's internal. You can't see it. So one's in the light and one's in the dark. Now, it's a mistake to assign moral attributes to body parts. It's just a lot of metaphor, a lot of figurative stuff. It's complicated, and I apologize for that. All languages are symbolic. All humans think symbolically, but some languages are more symbolic than others. And ancient Chinese was very, very symbolic. You are totally welcome, my friend. And I thank you for asking your wonderful questions. You asked a question earlier today. I forgot what it was. Can you bounce that by me again? And I'll take a swing at it. Anyway, I'll return to the lesson. Let's see. Hit this button right here and go back to button number 5. That should do it. Okay. So, whoops, wrong button. Let's try that bad boy again. There we go. So, enlightenment is not an... Wow, whoopsie. Enlightenment is not an absence of pain. It's not an absence of misfortune. Remember, think about three great archetypes of enlightenment: the sage, the Buddha, the Christ. At least 2/3 of them were assassinated rather slowly. Gee, guys, thanks. So, whether the Buddha was real or imagined, we can agree is at the very least archetypical. And so, same thing with the Christ, whether he was real or whether he was imagined, he's at least archetypical, the embodiment of a set of teachings. And we see both the Christ and the Buddha being assassinated. So we can kind of crumple up and throw away the idea that enlightenment means that you're in easy street, you're living the life of Riley, and everything is hunky-dory, nothing but kittens, puppies, rainbows, and lollipops. No. What if enlightenment was super easy? Remember, in the final portion of the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha promises that full enlightenment can be accomplished in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 weeks, or even, 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. If that was possible, then it must be rather simple. What if enlightenment was nothing less than simply, or nothing more, take 2, what if enlightenment was nothing more than simply the mastery of the Eightfold Path? And what if the Eightfold Path was just a fancy way of saying love and letting go? 50% of the Eightfold Path is about loving kindness, loving intention, and kind behavior, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. What is kind commerce? It's not being a Karen who wants to get people fired. It's not being a Chad who wants to drive competitors out of business. It's a bit less about conquering. It's less about competition. It's more about cooperation and kindness. Loving kindness. Who'd have thunk? 50% of Buddha is just not being a dripping syphilitic dick. But wait, there's more. What about the other 50%? It's about letting go. Recognizing impermanence helps us letting go. Nothing mysterious there. Enthusiastically practicing mindfulness and meditation. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, especially after tonight's lesson or tonight's practice. This can be done in a week. You don't need to do austerities. You don't need to do rituals. You don't need to walk on your hands backwards up a pyramid. Nope, not even once, not even a little bit. It's super easy. I am the outcast Lama. Lama, I'm like Rudolph. The other reindeers don't want to let me join in their games because they think I'm evil, because I teach the egalitarian path of enlightenment, not the elitist path, and for that, I must be evil. So, there you have it. Enlightenment is simply the mastery of the Eightfold Path, but what is mastery? Mastery is just getting so good at something that you can do it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively, like flossing your teeth or tying your shoes. Now, before we move on to the next part of our exciting live stream, my pal James wrote something, and he wrote, if the Tao is eternal, is it... if the Tao is eternal, is it ever changing? Like the water that flows down the river, it can't be held but can quench your thirst with its flowing way. Well, that is very well written. Sir, I think you're a poet and don't know it. So I'm going to demystify the Tao to the chagrin of people everywhere. Okay, the Tao just means the way. So Tao, De, Ching, could be translated as treatise on the beneficial way. So it's not a sentient entity. It's just a way of going through life. It's just a way of describing the path of yin. Doop, 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 doop. There you go. The path of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. When it's moving not from contrivance and agenda, but instead from centered spontaneity. Perhaps you will, let me subject you to Jumbo Face. Perhaps you will remember that in the past I have described that there is a spectrum. Not a speculum, a spectrum. There's a difference. One looks like a stainless steel duck, and the other doesn't. Okay, so there is a spectrum. On one hand, you have, on one hand, you have being completely contrived and rigid and buttoned up. On the other hand, you're completely scattered like a little kid who has been spinning in circles, and now they're staggering around like they're inebriated. So there's two extremes, but not all spontaneity needs to be scattered. Some spontaneity can be centered. And that centered spontaneity is the effortless byproduct of a really healthy practice of mindfulness and meditation, just like we're going to do in a couple minutes from now. What is the way? It is the way of centered spontaneity. What is the way? It's the way of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, kind. It's the way of being the person that your dog already thinks you are. I hope that helps, James. So many times, see, metaphors are great. We're wired for metaphor. We're wired for simile. We're wired for story. But they can also confuse us. And sometimes when we talk, and this by sometimes I mean all the time for everybody, everybody thinks in specifics but communicates in generalities, and then everyone wonders why we're confused. It's just a glitch in our evolution. Ironically, there's a minority of people who communicate literally the majority of the time. They're typically neurodivergent, and they are shunned by by other members of society, which is tragically ironic. So I look forward to meditating with you. After about 40 seconds of housekeeping, this is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day studying and practicing and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so you won't have to. I play the Yoda to your Luke Skywalker so that you can quickly and easily become the person that your dog already thinks you are. You know, you come home from work, you come home from school, and your dog is jumping up and down like you're the second coming. So, welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So we're going to play with Dudjom Lingpa's concise ngondro. It was composed by Dudjom Lingpa. It was translated under the guidance of Chogdud Tulku. It was adapted and amplified by this book in front of you. Why, thank you, sir. So, we're going to begin with Right View's first fold of the Eightfold Path by contemplating the four thoughts that turn the mind to the teachings. We're going to begin with a bit of the old. Let me write this down first. Tantra Anu Yoga. There we go. Tantra Anu Yoga. Or I guess I could be fancy. And by fancy I mean sophisticated and say Anu Yoga Tantra. There we go. Let's chant. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. Aha, he's spelling creatively again. So this 24 and this is 24. Excellent. Okay. So we're going to begin with something that's kind of clunky, but it's a good way to warm up. As we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. As we exhale, we're going to silently and mentally recite relaxing the mind's non-graspable nature. So I'm taking a moment and edit. This is an editing opportunity. Okay, so consider, if you will, this image of two Buddhas drinking. Consider the female the color of a cumulus cloud, and she is sporting with wild abandon. That represents a playfulness of mind. Consider her date. This fellow, the color of the infinite azure sky, is just being very mellow. And that's us relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. And so the essence of Ati Yoga is symbolized by this copulating couple before us. Now, clearly not all couples or boy-girl. There are all sorts of fun permutations. This is just one that is, I'm not trying to, statistically significant portion of the populace thinks of boy-girl sex. Now, if you're an artist and you want to do tantric versions of, that's not sorry, but all permutations on a theme of Ati Yoga, I'm completely open to it, and I would happily display your artwork. We're now going to review 4 Sutric teachings. First one is the contemplation of the preciousness of our human life, which is the key to gratitude. No, we don't have to believe. Simply by reciting and relaxing, we sow the seeds of gratitude together. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. We are now going to meditate a second time, but we're shifting gears from the 12-syllable exercise to the 3-syllable exercise. Notice this relaxing. One, two, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Well, I'm just, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and copy. We now review the Sutra teaching of impermanence, which is the key to the wisdom of letting go. Being impermanent, everyone who's born will die. There is zero faith required here. Every kid who has officiated the funeral of a fish by the side of the toilet knows about impermanence. Every would-be gardener who has watched their brand new potted plant die after you forgot to water it for a month knows about impermanence. Un momento. So the motion of our copulating couple represents impermanence, does it not? Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. And then last, we graduate to the 1-syllable exercise. This ease, as we inhale, we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and as we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which is a synonym of relax. We come now to Sutra's teaching of interdependence, to the key to loving kindness. Because we live in an interdependent universe, we're able to help others when they need help, which is very, very nice and really makes life meaningful, don't you think? The results of our virtuous and hopeful actions are inevitable. That's right, we can punch someone or we can hug someone. I recommend the second one. The results of our virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. The results of our virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. We review the Sutra teaching about stress. Our stress reminds us of other people's stress, and it can fuel the fire of empathy, can it not? Together. The three realms we experience as samsara are like an ocean of suffering. The three realms we experience as samsara are like an ocean of suffering. Samsara just means cyclic. Nothing mysterious. The three realms we experience as samsara are like an ocean of suffering. So you can have a spooky view of samsara and say it refers to death, birth, and more of the same. Or you can say it just means that life follows patterns, like Groundhog Day, metaphorically speaking. Elitists will tell you this is a special meditation for special people, but those who are egalitarian will remind you that this technique is found in every sect of Buddhism if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Yes, enthusiasm is part of the Eightfold Path. Remembering this may my mind turn toward Dharma. We continue with right enthusiasm by taking refuge. From now until I reach a very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. Nothing mystical here. If you have a good teacher, then their example and their instructions and their other students are useful to you. If you have a shitty teacher, then their example and instructions and other students are a big drag. From now until I reach a very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. Ooh, that's weird. From now until I reach a very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. I guess I could get fancy here. Oops, that's what we call an error. Due to my bad back, I can no longer perform Tibetan-inspired Buddha bows. I have to do variations of geriatric step-back squat thrusts because I'm funky. We now turn to Sutra's right intention, the second fold, generating bodhicitta. That's just a fancy way of saying giving a flying fuck about others. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have been my mothers. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have been my mothers. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have been my mothers. I don't care whether our mother was wise or foolish, kind or cruel. We're all imprinted on our mothers. That's explored beautifully and humorously in Scrooged, a Richard Donner film starring Bill Murray, in which the ghost of Christmas past talks about that. I don't care how tough you are, even Genghis Khan, when he sees his long dead mother, cries with the intensity of Niagara Falls. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. Anu Yoga Tantra is just a fancy way of saying that what we're going to do is going to affect our subtle energy. Dorje Sampa, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations from Vajrasattva. Now, I'm not sure. If you have trouble reading this font on your digital device, please let me know and I'll use a different font. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as our vast void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although compelling to the eye, is not graspable to the hand. The screen's going to go nuts. I will attend to it in a moment. So we've dealt with Anu Yoga, energy, Ati Yoga, meditation, and now Anu Yoga, mantra meditation or contemplation. This isn't a mistake. It should read letting go. Let me fix this. So we're going to play with Letting Go's Mahayoga Tantra, where we leapfrog over circumstantial clinging. How is it that as we inhale all comic lots or circumstances could appear quite vivid, yet as we relax into our purifying exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Now we're going to take that same rhetorical question and shrink it in the rinse cycle. And we're going to silently and mentally recite it as we inhale. As we exhale, we're going to physically relax as best we can into our recitation of this 6-syllable mantra. Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum. Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum. Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum. Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum. Sorry, my friends, due to health issues, I'm going to have to cut the practice short. I pray to thee, protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawape. I pray to thee, protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawape. I pray to the protector Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawapi. I now give my body wealth and virtue with qualities wholeheartedly to all beings, for they have each been my kind mothers. I now give my body wealth and virtue with qualities to all beings, for they have each been my kind mothers. I now give my body wealth and virtue with qualities wholeheartedly to all beings, for they have each been like my kind mothers. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel if you wish. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.